now they've gone and hired a female teacher. If you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't, that's a dangerous innovation. Next, they'll be wanting to hire female ministers, like in the United States. Whole world's turning upside down. That's sure and certain. Maria!
Hello, Rachel.
I've never heard of such goings-on in school with that new teacher.
Miss Stacy wears the biggest puff sleeves in all of Avonlea. I sometimes wonder if she has to turn sideways to get through doors.
Miss Stacy made my blood run cold when I saw those schoolboys climbing the pine trees up on the hill after a crow's nest. Whatever for?
Nature study. They even do skits and other such foolishness.
And what is this about physical culture exercises?
Supposed to promote grace and good digestion. Fiddlesticks.
It all comes of having a female teacher.
I'm supposed to see Miss Stacy at school again today. I suppose Anne is in trouble.
College education for women. Lord help us.
I have a new skirt pattern. I'm not sure I'll be able to find it, but you wanted to see it.
Yes, of course.
And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Twirl round, then left, then right, very slowly, and twirl. Very good, class. Recess time.
Charlie, up on your toes.
To Anne. Mother still says I'm not to talk to you. Anne, I miss you awfully. I have no one to tell my secrets to.
Dearest Diana, when twilight drops her curtain down and pins it with a star, remember that you have a friend, though she may travel far.
Gilbert, I
Anne.
saw you put an apple by a certain person's desk today.
Not me.
Gilbert loves it! Gilbert loves it!
Her ladyship Miss Freckleface? Not on your life.
Anne, I found this apple by your chair.
Oh, must be from Gilbert.
His father grows pippins.
Oh, Moody! He called me carrots!
That was last year. Why are you so mean to Gilbert?
Ruby, do not mention that name in my presence.
Gilbert!
I shall never forget the vow I made.
Miss Stacy, why do you have to write stories every week?
To exercise the imagination.
My imagination has arthritis.
Anne, come and read the class your story. The Jealous Rival, or In Death Not Divided, by Rosamond Montmorency. That's my nom de plume.
Nom de what?
Means pen name, Moody.
Oh.
Once there lived two friends, Lady Cordelia, a regal brunette with midnight hair and flashing eyes,
Sounds good.
and Lady Geraldine with spun gold hair and purple eyes.
I've never seen anybody with purple eyes.
Handsome Lord Bertram fell madly in love with fair Geraldine, so down he went on bended knee.
That doesn't happen nowadays. At least I hid in the pantry while my sister got proposed to.
Lady Cordelia, secretly in love with Bertram, raged with jealousy. One night, when the two maidens stood by a roaring stream, Cordelia pushed Geraldine into the rapids. At once, Bertram plunged into the current. I shall save thee, my fearless one!
So he rescued Geraldine and they lived happily ever after.
Alas, Bertram forgot that he did not know how to swim, and they both drowned. Well, I think it's more romantic to end with a funeral than a wedding.
Oh, how lovely.
Whatever happened to that Cordelia girl?
She went insane with remorse and was shut up in a dark tower.
The one about a prisoner escaping from a dungeon. That one was good. For a girl.
You could be a writer, Anne.
Thank you, Moody.
All of you should be thinking about the future.
In 2 years, I can wear my hair up.
There are important decisions coming your way.
I'll be a teacher if I pass the entrance exam. I'll teach for 2 years and then get married.
My sister's so ornery, she'll never get married.
Charlie, you'll either end up as a politician or a clown.
Same thing.
I'd like to work in government, but Mrs. Lynn says,
Only rascals succeed in politics.
What about you, Gilbert?
I'll go to Queens for a year, if I make good grades, then on to Redmond University, if I pass the entry exam, and if my father can afford it. If.
My mother says I can't go to Queens. She says the home is the woman's proper sphere.
I'd love to earn my way teaching school, but isn't Queens dreadfully expensive?
Oh, I don't have to worry about earning a living. But I'm not a poor orphan girl living on charity.
No use in dreaming. I know I can't go.
My folks can send me if I pass the entrance exams, but I'll probably flunk the history questions and be a failure.
Remember, class, there's a whole week of exams in Charlottetown.
I'll die. I'll just die.
Miss Stacy, will you be here to teach us next year?
Well, to be honest, I was thinking about taking another school. I've grown very fond of my pupils here. So, I will stay through the exams, and I will tutor you.
Miss Stacy, can we go over our parts for tomorrow?
There's still time. Ruby, you rehearse the tableau.
I'll prompt you, Gilbert.
Of course you will.
Half a league onward, into the valley of death rode the 600.
Flow gently, flow sweetly among nice green braes. Flow gently, flow sweetly, a song in thy grace.
I am faith with my hands clasped like so.
And I am hope with my eyes uplifted.
Josie,
Your charity.
Rudy, this is a duet, not a solo.
Forward the light brigade, charge the guns, all in the valley of death rode the 600.
Like so.
It's like this.
Boys,
have to do it louder.
Ho!
Ho!
Ho! Ho! Ho! Ho! Ho! Ho!
Miss Cuthbert, we were just rehearsing. Class dismissed.
You're here because Miss Stacy caught me reading Ben-Hur, but I just had to know how the chariot race turned out.
I will speak to you at home, Anne.
Miss Cuthbert? Miss Cuthbert, I want Anne to join my special class.
Special class, what has she done now?
I'm teaching my students after school to prepare them for Queen's Academy.
Sweet, Anne's not going to Queens.
But Anne is a clever girl with a wonderful imagination.
She gets to daydreaming and forgets to take care of her duties.
Anne has a genuine talent for writing.
I think it's all stuff and nonsense, but Matthew dotes on every word.
Miss Cuthbert, I think Anne belongs at Queen's.
Well, I don't know about money and such. Besides, the exams are more than a year away.
In my opinion, it's always best to start early.
Well, I'll think it over. Is that all, Miss Stacy?
Miss Cuthbert, have you considered Anne's future?
Well, Anne will always have a home with me and Matthew at Green Gables.
Always is a long time, Miss Cuthbert. Anything can happen.
That's true. The world is an uncertain place. I've learned that.
Shouldn't a girl be fitted out to earn a living for herself?
I suppose so. Thank you, Miss Stacy. Those puff sleeves look big as balloons.
Matthew,
Yes, Sam?
could you please help me find the lowest common denominator?
They haven't found that yet? They were looking for it when I was a boy.
Geometry is my Waterloo. Even Diana does better than me, and some of the others are so smart.
Well, now I'm sure you'll get the hang of it eventually.
Besides geometry, Miss Stacy and I are kindred spirits. When she says my name, I feel instinctively that she adds an E.
I heard over at Blair's store that you were a good scholar.
Today at school, they applauded my recitation. Come into the garden, Maud, for the black bat night has flown.
Say, that's pretty good. You'll have to say it all for me sometime.
Come into the garden, Maud, for the black bat.
In the barn.
Life is more interesting now that I'm grown up. It's a solemn thing to be almost 14. Everybody's talking about the entrance exam.
Well,
And you'll need more school than Avonlea by and by. Would you like to go to Queens and learn to be a teacher?
It's no use hoping. It cost Mr. Andrews hundreds for Prissy.
Well, I hope it's not sticking my oar in if I say this, but me and Marilla have been talking it over, and we'd send you to Queens if you like.
Oh, Matthew, I'll study extra hard, but don't expect too much in geometry.
I'm sure you'll beat out the whole island.
I am the best writer in class, and that's not boasting. Miss Stacy said so. I just love Miss Stacy, don't you?
Well,
Marilla says her puff sleeves are too fancy for a school teacher, but I know what it is to yearn for puffed sleeves.
puffed sleeves.
The new fashion. Marilla says they look like watermelons, but I know all the girls have puffed sleeves.
I've been noticing Anne doesn't dress like the other girls. Need to work on that.
Matthew, did you ever go courting?
Well, no, I never did.
I'm sure Marilla never had a beau. Anne! Oh, Diana, your mother has been elected at last!
She hasn't, but Minnie May has the croup, and Mother and Father went to the political rally in Charlottetown, and
Marilla's gone too, with Mrs. Lynde.
I'll go harness Pearl and go for Dr. Stevens.
but what if Dr. Stevens is at the rally?
Then I'll go on to White Sands for Dr. Crane.
But what if Dr. Crane is there? What if everyone?
Don't despair, Diana. I know all about the croup. Taking care of 3 sets of twins gives me tons of experience.
But Anne, Minnie May is so much worse, and I've used the whole bottle of medicine.
Put more wood on the stove and keep all the kettles boiling.
But please tell me she's not going to choke.
Hurry, Diana. The steam might ease the congestion. I'll be right over. Go. What if Matthew has to drive all the way to White Sands? That could take hours.
Marilla, it was dawn before Dr. Crane walked through the door. Anne was so tuckered up she had to stay home from school. And by then, Minnie May was fast asleep in her own bed. I am so glad Anne knew how to take care of her.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Barry.
Hello, Anne.
Well then,
I guess I'll get some potatoes from the pantry. The doctor said you saved my baby's life last night.
I never thought I'd be glad that Mrs. Hammond had 3 sets of twins.
And I'm sorry about the currant wine cordial business. I see now it's just a silly mistake.
I accept your apology with grace and humility.
Good, because I want you and Diana to be best friends.
Oh, Mrs. Barry, you're looking at a perfectly happy person in spite of my red hair.
And how shall I ever repay you?
No need. Henceforth, I shall cover the past with a mantle of oblivion.
Then shall we expect you for dinner tonight?
How stupendous! How simply, incredibly stupendous!
We'll see you at 6. Though her language is quite peculiar, it certainly is ladylike.
Nobody's ever used their best china on my account before. After supper, Diana and I made taffy, but I let the pot burn. Then, after dinner, after we let it burn, the cat walked over it. Anyways, tonight was still an epoch in my life.
Well, now, Marilla, it's a special occasion.
Matthew, you know very well that I don't believe in youngsters getting up at concerts and running off to practices when they should be home studying.
Well, I think you ought to let Anne go.
Well, Matthew Cuthbert, I don't.
It's a school concert, Marilla. And besides, it's Christmas.
Christmas or no Christmas, I don't believe in young folks staying out all hours. And don't drip that dirty grease water all over the kitchen.
All the other girls are going to be going.
Yes, and I'm surprised at Mrs. Barry for allowing Diana.
I think you're making a mistake, Marilla.
Matthew Cuthbert, who is raising that child, you or me?
Well, now, you...
Then don't go interfering with my methods.
It ain't interfering to have an opinion. And my opinion is
You would let Anne go to the moon if she took the notion. But it's my job to teach that waif of the world manners and deportment.
well, I still think you ought to let her go.
Well then, fine. She can go if that's all that will please you.
Marilla, say those blessed words again.
Once was enough. Besides, it was Matthew's doing, not mine.
Matthew understands me. It's so nice to be understood.
You're dripping.
I'm sorry. I'm such a terrible trial to you, Marilla. Always making mistakes, but think of the mistakes I don't make.
I'm trying to think of one.
I know you're trying to bring me up proper, and I'll be forever grateful.
You're still dripping.
I'm sorry. I'm just so excited. I've never been to a concert before in my life, let alone performed in one.
All I hope is that you behave yourself, child.
Diana is going to sing a solo, and I shall have my very own recitation, though I do need to practice the groaning.
I'll be thankful when all this fuss about the concert is over. Her head's stuffed full of dialogues and tableaus and who knows what else.
Oh, Merry Christmas, Matthew! Merry Christmas! Isn't it a lovely Christmas? I'm so glad it's white. Oh, what's this, Matthew?
Well, now it's a Christmas present for you, Anne.
Oh, Matthew.
It's the new way the sleeves are... Yeah. Well, now, don't you like it?
Like it? Matthew, it's perfectly exquisite! A dream come true! Look at those sleeves, Marilla!
I knew you were up to some foolishness. You've been grinning like a cat for 2 weeks. There's enough material in each of these sleeves for me to make a blouse.
I was afraid puff sleeves might go out before I got any. I simply must try this on!
I'm sure you'll take nice care of it, please.
I always planned to be a model girl. Temptation to just get in my way.
I made her 3 warm, wearable dresses for the winter, Matthew.
Ain't nothing wrong with her having one pretty dress, Marilla.
She'll be vain as a peacock now.
She'll look prettier than all the rest.
To be fair, I did buy her a new pair of patent shoes.
Well, now that'll please her rightly, Marilla.
They'll look good with the dress. And I expect they can't make her any more vain than she already is.
Well, now I expect they can. But I guess it never did much harm on meddling.
I'll admit, Anne has grown more steady and reliable. I'm even getting used to her constant chatter.
That's Marilla's way of saying she likes it.
But still, she's not responsible at all.
Don't get too close to the water, Diana. You'll get your feet wet.
Oh, goodness. Farewell, sweet sister. Farewell.
Sweet sister, farewell forever. Oh, Anne was right. Playing Camelot is ever so romantic.
Darn it, Anne, I forgot to give you the flower.
Doesn't Anne make a wonderful Lady Elaine? I'd be so nervous.
I don't have the courage to float down the river.
Me either.
I think the boat is leaking.
Quiet, Anne!
And Lady Elaine isn't supposed to be talking while she's lying dead in her funeral barge.
I could never pretend to be dead. I'd die of fright.
I would die as well. And you know, I was just thinking, do you think it's quite right to play act like this? I mean, Mrs. Lynde says,
Play acting is abominably wicked.
Wait, why is she standing up?
oh no!
The barge is sinking! The barge is sinking!
We left the oars at the landing! She'll drown! She'll drown! It's sailing around the bend!
Oh no, oh no.
It's going down! Help! Help! For goodness sake!
You're like I'm perfectly able-bodied. Please put me down.
Gladly. And I promise never to rescue you again, Anne Shirley. Just tell me what happens.
Playing Camelot.
And you were the Lady Elaine, I suppose?
I told Diana and Ruby that a red-haired individual cannot play a lily maid, but they insisted.
I think that scarf would bet on Ruby Gillis's piano.
For your information, it is supposed to be a coverlet of gold.
I still don't understand what you were doing on that log piling, Anne.
The boat began to leak, so when I passed under the bridge, I grabbed onto one of the log pilings, so slippery I almost fell in.
Luckily I read by just then.
Thank you, Gilbert. Very much obliged.
Anne, look here, can't we be friends? I'm sorry I made fun of your hair. Besides, that was years ago. Let's be friends, please.
I made a vow never to befriend you, Gilbert Blythe.
Fine, and I'll never ask you again, Anne Shirley.
Fine with me, too! There's so many different Annes in me. Life would be a whole lot simpler if there was just one. Though not half so interesting.
You're alive!
We saw the boat go down, and we felt like murderers because
We played you, May Elaine!
Please! I'm quite recovered.
and we saw the boat go down, and we felt for sure.
When I passed under the bridge, I grabbed onto one of the log pilings, barely escaping a watery grave. Right then, Gilbert Blythe came along in Mr. Andrews' boat and brought me to land.
Gilbert saved you? Oh, how romantic!
I'm sure you'll speak to him after this.
I most certainly will not. And Ruby, I don't ever want to hear the word romantic again. Now, here's your mother's piano scarf. I hope she doesn't notice that rip in it.
What? Rip? Oh no, she'll kill me.
Ruby, come
I cannot prepare my funeral, Diana!
Ruby, there's no point.
I must be born under an unlucky star. In my imagination, adventures always end in a blaze of glory.
And will you ever have any sense?
I think my prospects of becoming sensible are brighter than ever.
How do you figure that?
Well, today has taught me a valuable lesson. Avonlea is not Camelot.
And who would have thought that?
Today has taught me to not be too romantic, and you shall see great improvement in that respect.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Anne, don't give up all your romance, Anne. A little is a good thing. Not too much, but keep a little.
When I think about taking those horrid exams in Charlottetown, I feel all sick all over.
7 times 0 is 0. 8 times 0 is 10. 0. 9 times 0 is...
Moody, what are you muttering?
Multiplication tables to steady my nerves, or else I'll forget everything I know.
Miss Stacy, do you think we'll pass? The question haunts me.
We'll find out soon enough. They're printing the results in the Charlottetown paper.
That could be humiliating.
It's not fair. If you flunk one part, you flunk the whole exam.
If I fail geometry, I fail the entire test.
Okay, geometry's easy. A child of 10 can learn it.
I memorize the theorems and propositions. I even write them down and color code them. But they change the letters on me.
I heard the arithmetic part is a yard long.
Missy Andrews says they throw in a trick question to mess you up.
It's the Latin conjugations I worry about.
What good is Latin anyway? A mo, a moss, a mott.
Oh, no, I'll fail English history. I disgrace my parents. I'm feeling my bones.
Oh, Charlie, I wish I had nerves of steel like you. You're never nervous.
It's just an exam. If I flunk it, I'll try again next year. What good is worrying anyway?
At least worrying makes you feel like you're doing something.
The worst part is waiting for the pass list to come out.
Oh, I wish I could just wake up when this is all over.
I am not superstitious, but I do wish my exam number wasn't 13.
13 is a very unlucky number.
I heard Prissy Andrew stayed up all night cramming before each test. I think I'd be sleepwalking.
Class, now promise you won't stay up late. Don't open a book. Go to bed and get a good night's rest. And best of luck in Charlottetown.
capital of Manitoba is Winnipeg. Capital of Alberta is... Charlie, where's the capital of Alberta?
Wherever you left it, Moody.
Ruby, may I walk you home?
As long as you can tell me how fractions can be improper.
Gilbert, wait for me. My father says Gilbert will come in first.
Thanks, Josie. Mostly I just want to pass. Mainly I want to beat out Miss Anne Shirley.
Say, Gilbert, how don't you just hate those French verbs? Gilbert!
Sometimes I wish I'd made up with Gilbert Blythe when I had the chance. Oh well, who cares? Anne, I'd like to talk to you. Oh, Miss Stacy, I know there will be other springs, but I'm afraid if I don't pass the entrance, I won't recover enough to enjoy them.
Anne, you studied hard for months.
Mrs. Lynde says,
And surely the sun will rise tomorrow whether you pass geometry or not.
That is true, though not very consoling.
and I do so want to pass high for Marilla and Matthew, especially Matthew.
Then don't stay up studying. It will only confuse you.
Mainly, I want to beat out Mr. Gilbert Blythe.
And this new story that you've written, it's delightful. It's about real people, about something that could happen right here in Avonlea. You know, lords and ladies, castles and kings.
No handsome knight charging forth on his coal black steed.
And you left out all those fancy words.
I guess plain short words can be good too, like you said.
You have a rare talent, Anne. You have the makings of a fine writer. Think about it.
There's so much to think about when you're growing up. Come along with me. Because if you do it wrong the first time, you don't get to start over.
If you hold fast to your dreams, Anne, you're bound to succeed.
Oh, Miss Stacy, isn't it wonderful to have ambitions? As soon as you achieve one ambition, another will come popping up, gleaming in the distance.
Marilla, why weren't you at Ladies' Aid? We were finishing up the missionary class.
Matthew had a bad spell with his heart, but he's all right now.
That's a mercy.
The doctor said he's to avoid excitement.
Well, that's easy enough for Matthew, isn't it?
He also ordered him not to do any heavy work. You might as well order Matthew not to breathe as not to work.
Have you heard anything about the Queen's exams? How do you suppose Anne came out?
Rachel Lynde, would you believe me? It's been 3 weeks and not a single word.
Well, if you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't, it all comes of having a liberal as superintendent of education.
The pass list is out! The pass list is out! Anne! Anne! The pass list is out! Well,
Father brought it down on the train from Bright River, and you and Gilbert tied for first, but your name is at the very top.
We're right proud of you, Anne.
The whole class passed, every single one of them.
I'm dazzled. I don't know what to say. I never dreamed. Oh, Matthew, the pass list is out. I'm first, or one of the first. It takes my breath away.
I said all along you beat him easy.
You did.
Well, it does appear that you've done pretty well.
Pretty well? She's done very well.
I said all along you'd be the first on the island.
Come on, let's go tell Miss Stacy.
Yes, Miss Stacy!
Ruby Gillis is halfway up. Charlie, too.
Ruby, Josie Pye just crept by at the very bottom.
First. My girl's first.
I never thought she'd get over her feather-brained ways.
Anne's turned out real smart, and I don't mind admitting it.
Rachel, I expect she's vain enough as it is.
Gracious sakes, Moody McPherson got a conditional in history. Well, at least he passed. I'm off to the McPhersons with the news.
I guess Miss Stacy didn't do too bad after all, even though she is a woman.
I still think those puffed sleeves look ridiculous.
Well, now I kind of like them.
Matthew, do you realize that in a few months, our Anne will be gone for good?
Well, now she'll be back home to visit Marilla.
It won't be the same. Men can't seem to understand such things.
Well, I don't know about that.
The house will seem terribly empty and lonely this winter.
I suppose it will be.
green one.
What about the flowered muslin?
No, this green color suits you much better.
I hope so.
You know, the ladies at the concert tonight are going to sparkle in all their silks and diamonds. Wouldn't you like to be rich?
Diana, we are rich. Just look at the sea, all silvery in the moonlight. We couldn't enjoy it more if we had heaps of diamonds.
I don't know. Diamonds might be comforting.
I love this little room so much. I don't see what I'll do without Green Gables when I go off to Queens next month.
Please don't talk about it, though. It makes me miserable just thinking about it.
I've never worn my hair before. That's a milestone.
You mean an epoch in my life?
Well, now, that's quite the honor for our Anne.
What else did it say? Can't even seem to read it with the glasses.
Well, now, summer guests at White Sands Hotel are sponsoring a concert to benefit the Charlottetown Hospital. A dance will follow.
Yes, but what else does it say about Anne?
Bessie and Clara Simpson from the Baptist Choir will perform a duet. Milton Clark of Newbridge, a violin solo. Winnie Blair of Carmody, a Scotch ballad. Do you think that's going to be like the ones Mom used to sing with us?
Keep reading.
Anne Shirley of Avonlea will recite.
There's no need to burst your buttons about it, Matthew.
Marilla's just as pleased. She just won't admit it.
I still don't approve of young folks gadding over to the hotel on their own.
Are you nervous, Anne? Trembling.
What are you going to recite?
The Maiden's Vow. It's ever so pathetic. And I do like to make people cry.
Well, you know, at the Christmas concert last year, everyone raved for weeks about your recitation. And you were encored.
But that was just a school program. This is for fancy summer tourists. This is the last rose from Matthew's garden. I saved it. Matthew just loves white roses.
You know, last year at the Christmas concert, a silken rose fell from your hair, and I remember it specifically because Gilbert Blythe picked it up and put it in his pocket. Or am I not supposed to mention that name in your presence?
I don't mind. Truth is, I've been sorry I acted so stuck up.
If he asked you to dance tonight, would you accept?
I don't know. I might.
So maybe the old rivalry is over?
Maybe.
You know, I'll probably end up with Moody stepping on my toes all of tonight.
Just think, Diana, when you and I are 20, you'll be married with a house full of children, and I'll be off teaching in a country school somewhere in Nova Scotia.
You know, I'd love to marry someone dashing and wicked and then reform him. But that is unlikely.
We could just be old maids together and friends forever.
Oh, that does sound nice. Becoming 20 sounds very old and very boring.
Anne.
Come in, Matthew.
Well, now, I got these for you, Anne.
A string of pearls?
I reckon you'll be wanting those now.
Oh, thank you, Matthew. Here, let those fine ladies sparkle in their silks and diamonds. I'd rather be Anne of Green Gables with a string of pearls given by Matthew with more love than ever touched Milady's jewels.
Oh, Anne, you do look so stylish.
Isn't it a wonderful world? So many of my dreams have come true.
Here, come on. Merlin, Matthew, what do you think of our star performer?
Well, you look neat and proper. I like your hair like that.
Thank you.
Anne, you look beautiful.
Thank you.
That dress looks a mite thin for those damp nights.
I'll be fine, Rilla. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Here, let me just say one more thing.
My girl. Only one from Avonlea on the whole set.
Oh, that's Charlie and Ruby. Oh, let's go.
Keep your dress clear of the wheel.
Yes, Rilla.
Goodbye.
Bye, Anne.
I almost wish I was going.
I'm awful proud of her, Anne. I don't care who knows it.
Organdy is the most unserviceable stuff in the world.
And I told you so when you bought that dress.
Well, now, I kind of like it.
Well, there's no talking to you nowadays anyway. The clerks at the Carmody store tell you something is fashionable and you plug your money down.
You know, it has been a good arrangement after all.
What arrangement, Matthew?
You raising Anne strict and proper like, and me spoiling her every now and again.
She's grown up so fast, Matthew. I'll miss her something terrible. But I still expect she'll ruin that dress driving through the dust.
I'll bet she's encored.
When I stood on that stage, looking out into a sea of strange faces, my knees trembled, my heart fluttered. Seeing all those elegant ladies in their fine silks and diamonds suddenly made my dress seem so plain.
That was wonderful. I cried like a baby.
At first, I thought you forgot the words.
Were you scared? I was terrified. I thought my voice wouldn't start.
I'd be so nervous in front of all those Mr. and Mrs. Moneybags.
I reached up and took courage somehow.
Your voice was so dramatic.
Honestly, you were the best thing on the show. Much better than the Ladies' Baptist Choir.
You were the only one encored.
I know.
It was magnificent.
Oh, wouldn't you love being a Mrs. Moneybags?
Yeah. I don't want to be anybody but myself.
Mr. Charles Moneybags, Esquire, may I have the honor of this dance?
Anne? Hello, Anne.
Hello, Gilbert.
Diana, care to dance?
Sure. We might have been good friends.
Anne, if I try not to step on your toes, will you dance with me?
Yes, Moody.
Gee, thanks.
Ow! Sorry. Ow! Sorry. Ow!
Anne is in credits, I believe. No mistake.
I don't believe in play acting, but recitation? Nothing sinful about that.
At first I thought Anne would never start, but she calmed down and sailed clear through.
If you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't, that Winnie Blair sings like a sick rooster. The only reason she got picked is 'cause her brother's on the committee. Did you hear about the new lawyer's wife?
No what?
Julia Barry. You should have seen the dress she wore last week. The neckline started up in Nova Scotia and went clear down to South America.
Gracious providence of all unaccountable things in ever any world.
All aboard! Good evening, Mr. Cuthbert.
I reckon that's the train for Charlottetown.
About to pull out, sir.
Anne, don't be dawdling, Anne! That child gets into such a fluster I thought she'd never be packed. Anne!
Oh, Marilla, thank you for putting flounces on my skirts. I can study a lot better with fashionable clothes.
You be sure that you write once a week, just like you promised, Anne.
Yes. This Queens is so far away. I'll feel like a cat out of a strange garret.
I'm sure you'll do just fine, Anne.
I'll make you proud of me, Matthew.
I'm already proud of you, Anne.
Let's be getting on, miss.
Anne, eat proper, keep your room tidy, and make sure you finish your studies.
Are you alright, Marilla?
There's a lot of cinder flying around. I was actually thinking of when you were a little girl, when you first came.
I'm not a bit changed. Not really.
Look at you, though. You're all tall and stylish. It's almost as if you don't belong on the island anymore.
Don't say that. I'm just the same, down deep. I'll love you and Matthew and dear Green Gables for as long as I live. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Anne.
Goodbye, Anne.
Goodbye, Matthew.
Sure has changed a lot. That girl sitting so forlorn, sitting on her suitcase.
I almost wish she'd stayed that little girl, even with her peculiar ways.
Well, now, I guess she ain't been spoiled much. I guess my sticking my oar in every once in a while never did much harm after all.
I suppose not.
She's grown up to be smart and pretty and love it too. And that's better than all the rest. She's been a real blessing to us, Marilla.
These trains really produce a lot of cinder and ash. It's disgraceful.
I reckon there never was a luckier mistake.
Matthew, it wasn't a mistake. It was providence. We needed her.
What did Marilla send this time? I'm starving.
Brownies.
I knew Marilla loaded you up with something scrumptious.
Right about now, Matthew would be coming in from the fields. Marilla would be at the gate waiting for him, and moonlight would be shining on the orchard.
Don't tell me you're still homesick.
Aren't you?
Some people have no self-control. I could never get homesick. Not for pokey old Avonlea.
Okay. My French professor is a doll. His mustache would make your heart flutter.
Ruby, head over the brownies. I'm hungry as a bear.
Gilbert has gotten so serious. I barely understand what he's saying most of the time. Sounds like you, Anne, on your thoughtful fit.
Professor Tremaine thinks Gilbert is sure to win the gold medal for academic excellence. And Emily Clay will take the silver.
Oh, Anne, maybe you could go for a medal.
It would please Matthew, and I guess the next best thing to trying and winning is trying and failing.
Failing? I should be studying right now. My horrid old Latin prof gave me 10 lines to memorize by tomorrow.
Whitty girls going to wear for the commencement. I got my dress all picked out. Gilbert loves blue.
Say, Gilbert's been walking me home lately after school.
How come Gilbert always walks you? He never carries my books.
Gilbert.
I like Gilbert all right. And George, and Frank, and Charlie. Oh, and don't even get me started on George II. What about you, Anne? Anne?
Oh, I was just thinking about my essay for composition class.
I was wondering, Anne, do people with red hair ever get used to it?
Josie.
I have made a heroic effort to like that person, but Josie Pye will not be liked.
It doesn't seem possible that school is nearly over. The buds are out on the chestnut trees, and the apple orchard is still waiting for you. I hope you can read this. My eyes are still troubling me. Matthew has been frail, I'm sorry to say. You'll cheer him up when you come home, though. Naturally, Matthew thinks that you'll be coming home with that gold medal.
Oh, Ruby, I do so want to win for Matthew's sake.
Aren't you excited? I know I am. In one moment, we'll know if it's you or Gilbert.
Be a dear and check the bulletin board for me. I haven't the heart to look. Matthew will be so disappointed.
I knew Gilbert would win. Professor Tremaine.
Congratulations, Gilbert.
Congratulations, Gilbert.
Congratulations to you too, Anne Shirley.
Me?
You won the Avery Scholarship.
Board of Governors granted an Avery Scholarship to a student from Queen's Academy. First time ever!
To the student writing the best essay, you!
That means 4 years at Redmond University.
Oh my God.
What about our exams?
We passed!
Oh, I passed! I passed!
Hooray for Anne! 3 cheers for Emily! Hip hip!
Hooray!
Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
We all passed! Except for you, Josie. You flunked the whole year.
Well, who wants to teach us some boring old country school anyway? My father can afford to send me back to Queens a dozen times, repeatedly.
Hey, Josie, could I borrow that dress your father bought?
Matthew, it doesn't seem possible that Anne is finally home for a spell. It's been the longest winter I ever put in.
Well now, Marilla, I reckon you're glad we kept her.
You don't have to rub it in, Matthew.
Oh, Matthew, I've had the loveliest morning hunting up my old dreams and exploring the woods. Sit a while, Matthew. I miss talking to you.
My girl got herself a first-class teacher's license and an Avery scholarship.
You look tired, Matthew. You've been working too hard.
I'm just getting old. I just can't remember that.
Why don't you take things easier?
Well, now, I guess I've worked hard all my life. I'd just rather drop in the harness.
If only I'd been the boy you ordered, I could have saved you. I could have spared you 100 ways. You wouldn't have had to work so hard if I'd been a boy.
And sure, don't you be saying that. I'd rather have you than a dozen boys. Just remember that, a dozen boys. I reckon it wasn't a boy who took the Avery scholarship. No, that was a girl. My girl. My girl that I'm so proud of.
I do love you.
Love you too, Amy.
And how's my Anne with an E?
Very well, Diana. I've missed coming here so much, seeing those pointed firs against the pink sky. And it's so lovely to see you again, Diana.
You know, Josie said you met a new girl at Queen's and you liked her much better than me.
Well, Josie Pye is as horrid as ever, and you are still the dearest friend in all the world.
You know, Ruby and Moody both got teaching jobs on the island, and Gilbert did as well.
He's not going to Redmond?
No, his father couldn't afford it. But no matter. Minnie May and Mother are dying to see you. Come on!
Help yourself to some of my new cake, Rachel. Please. Can't imagine what Matthew is up to. I'm going to go look for him.
Not one to brag, but my lemon cake is moister. Of course, nowadays you can't get any proper baking soda. It's all adulterated. If you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't, the government's to blame.
Rachel, come quick! What is it? Matthew has fainted.
Oh, I'll try the smelling salt.
Anne, come quickly. Hitch up the buggy and send for Dr. Stevens. Matthew has fainted again. Oh.
Marilla, I don't believe there's anything we can do for him now.
Rachel, you don't mean that. No.
Dr. Stevens said death was instantaneous and probably painless. I still can't seem to believe it. I think that when I go to the barn, I'll find Matthew there, waiting for me. And I can't even cry. I just have this horrible ache here.
Anne, please accept my sincere condolences.
Thank you.
Anne, would you like to spend the night with me?
Thank you, Diana, but I need to stay here with Marilla. I still can't believe it.
I understand.
You're welcome to live with me now, Marilla.
It was a beautiful service, Marilla.
Thank you. He was a good and kind brother to me.
God knows best.
It's not easy for me, Anne, but I have to say goodbye now.
Goodbye.
I'm going out west to teach. It'll be an adventure, I expect.
Thank you, Miss Stacy. Thank you for everything.
You have a rare talent, Anne. Someday you'll be a truly splendid writer. Never forget that.
He was a true gentleman, Mr. Cuthbert.
Thank you.
Miss Cuthbert, if there's anything I can do to help.
I appreciate the offer, Gilbert.
I'm so very sorry.
Thank you, Gilbert.
You're my girl. My girl who I'm so proud of.
Oh, Matthew, I miss you so much.
And it's no use crying. I can't bring him back. I knew that today, but I couldn't help it.
The tears don't hurt as much as that horrible ache. Stay with me a while, Marilla.
I'm here.
I couldn't be with Diana tonight. It's not her song. It's yours and mine. Oh, Marilla, what will we do without Matthew?
And I don't know what I would do if you weren't here. If you had never come to Green Gables. Listen, I may have been harsh and strict with you sometimes, but you mustn't ever think that I don't love you as much as Matthew did.
Even when I lied about stealing the brooch?
Actually, I want you to have this.
Your mother's this brooch? Marilla,
It hasn't ever been easy for me to say things from my heart, but somehow at times like this it's a little easier, so I'm going to tell you now while I still can. And I love you as if you were my own flesh and blood. You've been my joy and comfort ever since you came to Green Gables.
I'll treasure this, Marilla.
What a girl you were for getting into scrapes. Do you remember when you fell off the roof?
I had to climb that ridgepole. Josie dared me.
Or when you almost drowned playing Camelot?
How was I supposed to know the boat had a leak in it?
And what a girl you were for prattling. I thought your tongue would clean wear out.
I'm quieter now. I don't seem to want to talk so much.
Look at you, Anne, all grown up. I never thought I'd see you today. You leaving the island and going off to university in Nova Scotia.
Ruby going off to teach at Carmody and Moody at Newbridge and Gilbert.
Gilbert alive. He's turned into quite a handsome young man. He looks like his father. We used to be real good friends, John Blythe and I. Some people even called him my beau.
Marilla! What happened?
We quarreled. I was angry with him and wanted to punish him. He left and didn't come back. I've always kind of wished I'd forgiven him when I had the chance.
You had romance in your life.
I suppose you could call it that, yes. You'd never think so to look at me, but you can't always tell by looking at a person, can you?
Gilbert's father.
Everybody has forgotten about John and I. I'd almost forgotten myself. But seeing Gilbert today brought it all back.
At least we have each other, Marilla.
And thank goodness for that. Dr. Stevens says my eyes won't last. Maybe new glasses would help with these headaches. Get some rest, Anne.
Everything's changing so fast. Matthew's gone. Marilla's losing her sight. Miss Stacy's going off and teaching in the West. And Gilbert, young Mr. Gilbert Blythe.
Mabel wanted to move back to Aberdeen, and when we heard you were selling the farm, what with Matthew gone and Anne leaving again,
My eyes are a terrible bother. I don't think I could manage on my own.
Mabel insisted I come and talk business with you.
Well, thank you for the offer, Mr. Spencer. I shall certainly think it over.
Green Gables is a beautiful place, but the buildings are old, and will run down and down until nobody wishes to buy it.
It would tear my heart apart to see Green Gables going to ruin.
Green Gables is a heavy responsibility for a woman, an older woman, all alone now.
I'll let you know, Mr. Spencer. This will take some deciding.
You don't have much time. We were also considering the Evans place. And oh, Mabel sends her sympathies.
I never thought I'd see the day when I sold my own home.
Marilla, who is that driving off?
Mr. Spencer heard that I was selling Green Gables and came to take a look.
Selling Green Gables?
If my eyes were better, I might stay, but as it is, I don't think I could.
Marilla, I couldn't live without Green Gables.
The place won't bring much, but I can manage, and you'll have your scholarship.
Nothing could be worse than losing Green Gables. Absolutely nothing.
Well, I can't stay here on my own. I'd go crazy from trouble and loneliness.
Well, you won't. I'm not going to university.
Not going? Whatever are you talking about, child?
Well, it's all settled. I can use my scholarship later, and Mr. Barry wants to rent the farm, and the board of directors has given me the school at White Sands.
Nonsense. I can't let you give up everything. What an idea.
But after all you've done for me,
Fiddlesticks.
Marilla, I needed you once. Now you need me.
Well, Anne, I still don't feel it's right to let you give up your future.
I'm not giving up my future. It's just taking a new turn. It's still unrolling before me.
You are a blessed girl.
Rachel.
I just saw Mr. Spencer drive off.
I knew she'd be right over.
Is it true? Is he going to buy Green Gables?
No such thing. Green Gables is not for sale.
Anne's not going to Redmond.
That's a relief. I do not believe in women cramming their heads full of Latin and Greek and all that nonsense.
I'll still be learning all that nonsense by correspondence.
She's taken a teaching position.
Good thing, too, if you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't. Women nowadays are getting far too ambitious.
I still have my ambitions, strong as ever. I'm going to write, but not about castles filled with lovesick princesses.
No more Cordelias.
No. I'm going to write about the things I know and love. Like Miss Stacy said, I'll write about plain old Avonlea.
Well, I could give you an earful, that's sure and certain.
I'm sure you could, Rachel.
I remember the first time I laid eyes on you. Lawful heart, I'll never forget that tantrum.
Neither will I.
And I said Marilla Cuthbert will rue the day she took this step. But I was mistaken. And no wonder, an odder child there never was.
Isn't that the truth?
And it's nothing short of wonderful how she's turned out, especially in looks.
I don't know what happened to those freckles.
Bless my soul! Gilbert, what's he doing out this way? Ooh, which reminds me, I hear they've given Avonlea School to Gilbert Blythe.
Trust Rachel for all the latest news.
Good afternoon, Miss Cuthbert, Mrs. Lynn. I'd like to speak to you, Anne.
I found that skirt pattern, Rachel.
What skirt pattern, Marilla? No, Marilla.
Anne, the trustees voted to give you Avonlea School.
But I thought they gave it to you.
I withdrew my application and suggested your name instead. I figured you'd want to stay close to help Marilla.
I can't let you do that, Gilbert.
It wouldn't do you any good to refuse. I've already signed the papers for White Sands, and it wouldn't do you any good to refuse.
I don't feel I ought to take it. It doesn't seem fair.
I can be stubborn too, you know.
Gilbert, I want to thank you for giving me Avonlea School.
So you finally forgive me after all these years?
I forgave you long ago. I was just far too proud to admit it.
We were born to be friends, Anne. I only made fun of you because...
Because?
Well, because I thought you had wonderful red hair.
We've been good enemies. Now maybe we can be good friends.
Got a lot of catching up to do.
I'd like that. Matthew, we kept Green Gables. I thought I ought to tell you. And I planted a rose bush by your grave, white roses. It's a cutting from the one your mother brought over from Scotland.
You're my girl, and I'd rather have you than a dozen boys.
I love you, Anne, as if you were my own flesh and blood.
You're an odd girl, Anne, but I do think I like you.
You have a rare talent, Anne. Never forget that.
Dear old world, you are lovely, and I'm glad to be alive in you.
Carrots.
all very much for coming to the final performance. The students will, and the actors will all stay on stage for a little bit for you guys to take some pictures. Please keep the little ones off the stage so we don't mess up any extra wires. And again, thank you so much for coming. We had a great time. Have a great evening.